In this video, I'm going to teach you how to draw the box it shipped in. And so what you need to do for this is have printed copies of any objects that you're going to place in your perspective, and just printed out copies in black and white will work just fine. It's also helpful to have a ruler or a scale ruler like I have here, and a pencil and a red pen or marker if you've got one. So in order to complete this, as I told you, I have printed out really simple black and white pictures of some of the images, and we'll start with this one. What I'm trying to do for each of these is to draw the box it came in. And so the way that I do this process is I begin by figuring out the edges of whatever face is kind of closest to me or flattest. And so you can see here, the first one that I drew was this outline right here. Okay? Then once I had that front of the box, then I was able to actually figure out that since this is drawn in one point perspective, I could set my ruler up along this line here, and I could figure out and connect a line in this direction. And then I was able to actually draw a line on this table edge to create the box, and where those two lines intersected was my vanishing point. So then I was able to do the top and bottom edges of the box that this shipped in by, again, dropping verticals and horizontals as we've done when we've extruded shapes in the past. And then once I had the box that it came in drawn, then what I was able to do is take one of the flat surfaces, and it doesn't really matter which face or flat surface you select because they'll all be, they'll all provide the same information. But I decided to just go ahead and draw dimension lines using this front face here. And so you can see here, I drew two sets of dimension lines. I drew an overall here and an interim here. And you can see here, if I look at my floor plan, this is the table, and it's running this way. And so all I did was I said, okay, well, the table in my perspective is going to be 8 feet long. So that means that the dimension line from here to here, or where this line extends down and where this line extends down, is going to be 8 feet. Then from there, I just kind of guessed. I figured, okay, well, if I split this 8 feet in half, let's say then each of these, then this is 4 feet from here to here, then this is 2 feet from here to here, and so 1 foot is about here. So then I was able to say, okay, well, if this distance is 1 foot, just by my estimation, the distance from the outer edge of the box to that front leg or trestle, whichever you want to call it, is probably about 8 feet, or pardon me, 8 inches. And so 12 minus 8 is 4. And so that was my best guess on the thickness of that leg. As far as for the height goes, we know that this table is, and most standard tables are about 32 inches tall. So I figured, okay, well, the distance from here to here, right, that dimension line is 2 feet 8 inches, which means that the thickness here is, maybe about 2 inches, and the remainder is 2 feet 6. And that's going to be easy because when I draw that tabletop, we can go ahead and use kind of half boxes on our grid. So that'll be easy. So that's how I drew that box. Here's another one. This is a window. You can see here I looked at the floor plan that we had drawn before, and I remember from our perspective that these windows were 4 feet tall. So I was able to then draw a box for this window. This is the kind of window design I'm going to use in my perspective. So I was able to say, okay, well, the overall is 4 feet tall. So then at the halfway point at 4 feet, that from here to here is 2 feet and 2 feet. So then if I were able to split that in half, roughly, I could figure out that this distance from here to here is about 3 feet, and this pane up here is about 1 foot. Now, as far as figuring out the width goes, I was able to look at this and say, okay, if the height is 4 feet, if I put my ruler right here, that makes about a square right there. So that means if this is 48 inches wide, 4 feet or 48 inches wide, and it's divided into 3, each of these panes is roughly 16 inches long. So you can see I added 16 inches wide. So you can see I added dimension lines for 16 inches wide, which means that this is also 16 inches wide. So the overall height, the overall width is 5 feet 4. So if I look at my plan, Remember, I've got 10 feet of windows here, so we'll be able to use, roughly 5 feet here for each one of these windows here, because in a perspective view, you won't perceive that loss of 4 inches, but you'll see what I mean a little later. Okay, I've got another object here. This is a pendant light that we're going to use. It's really, really hard to draw the box that pendant lights ship in here for this exercise because in this case it's round. The pendant light itself is round and the escutcheon plate is round. And we'll talk about how to draw round objects in perspective in a little bit, but all I did right now was really just draw the box it shipped in, the very front face, the front of the box that it shipped in. And so if the box that it shipped in was 2 feet tall, then I would guess and say, okay, well, at about this mark is the halfway point, which means if I cut that in half, that's 1 foot from here, 1 foot from here to here, and splitting that in half right here brings this drum pendant shade to be about 6 inches tall. And then the escutcheon plate, the part that covers the wiring where it connects to the ceiling, is about 1 inch. So then I was able to say, okay, well, if this is 6 inches and this is 1 foot 6 inches, then they add up to 2 feet. So we'll talk a little bit more about the box that came in shortly, but for right now, that's how I created it. I have another archway here. Okay, this is another curved object that we'll learn how to draw in a little bit. And that's what this object is right here. This opening is going to be shaped like this arch. Now, in this case, I decided that if my walls are going to be 10 feet tall, then my archway is probably going to be about 8 feet. And so you can see here I marked some dimensions. The overall height is 8 feet. That's the distance from here to here. Okay, and then I figured out, well, the center part right here where the arch starts, see, the arch starts about this height and then it goes up to here. I'm guessing that that's about 2 feet, that distance from here to here. And you can see here 6 inches plus 1 foot 6 is 2 feet. So I'm guessing that that thickness between essentially the thickness of the casing here, that's going to be about 6 inches, and then this distance will be about 1 foot 6. The other really important point that I put here is the midpoint, and that'll become more important later when we draw this in perspective. But depending on whatever the width here, this one looks like it's 8 to 10 feet wide. Ours, of course, is going to be much smaller. Ours is only 6 feet wide, but we are going to need to know that midpoint in order to draw that arc. Okay, this is the buffet that we're going to put in, and you can see here, it's right here. Ours is 7 feet wide and 2 feet deep. Now this photograph is really hard to draw the box it came in because the vanishing point, as you can see, is really, really close to the top of, the vanishing point is really close to the top of the piece of furniture itself. And I found it because I was able to match up the front corners of these 2 feet and connect them back, and that's about where they intersected. So you can barely see the top of the box that this thing ships in because the vanishing point is so close in height to the top. But you can see I was able to mark an overall dimension of 7 feet, and then I was able to mark there's a center point right here where these doors open. There's some divisions along the face of this. You can't really see in this picture, but there's a door here. Okay, there's a door here and a door here, and then the edge of the door here. I broke up some of the thicknesses thinking that this piece is about 2 inches each. Okay, the thickness here is about 2 inches. The thickness here is about twice that, so 4 inches, making the legs about 8 inches. So you can see I followed the same exact process here. I drew the front face of the box it ships in. I did add some dotted lines in the back so you could see the back of the box. And then I went ahead and marked the critical points on the face of that piece of furniture and where those things might meet. And then, of course, I broke up the height a little bit more too. You can see there's a lot of little snippets of 2-inch increments here. And the last one is this chair. And these are the dining room chairs. We're going to put these right here in the floor plan. Okay, and you can see here, once again, I went ahead and drew the box that it shipped in. I had to add another piece of paper to make sure that I was able to include my vanishing point. And then you can see the same thing. All I did was I connected critical points back, divided the height, and matched up where the top and bottom of the seat is, where the seat touched the back of the legs back here, the back of the chair back here, and connect them all back and mark it. And that is how you draw the box that things ship in.